Hello, hello, hello. Greetings, all my PAD warriors and Qigong aficionados. This is our 52nd day of our Light a Red Candle campaign, which brings awareness around peripheral artery disease and the fact that walking is the very best exercise a person can do for PAD. It actually grows natural bypasses in the form of collateral blood vessels in our legs. So with that said, I'm putting my candle down. And today I thought we'd do a little shift and talk about Qigong today some. I feel like I've gone through the Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention moves enough times that it's become redundant. And I thought I would switch it up a little bit today and talk to you about Qigong. Now, Qigong actually means working with our life force or gathering our life force. Tai Chi is a form of moving meditation, and Qigong in Tai Chi can be considered the internal aspect of Tai Chi. And Qigong is all about our energy flow. And the main difference between Qigong and Tai Chi is that it's an internal practice. Qigong is an internal practice with external movements. So the focus is on our internal, what we're feeling, what we're focused on, what our intentions are. And a lot of times it's suggested that you practice Qigong with your eyes closed because it blocks out all the visual distractions around you. And a big piece of Qigong, of course, is breathing. I'm going to touch base on breathing again a little bit here. There's 4 phases to breathing, actually. You have an inhalation, a pause, and then an exhalation and a pause. And sometimes, like if you're running or moving fast, that pause might be so small that it's barely noticeable, but it's always, always there. And the beauty in slowing down our movements or zoning into them so that they kind of sync with our body movements is that it brings it all together for us in an internal way. And again, I can't say this enough, that Qigong is more about the internal than it is the external movements. And my first Qigong instructor said, go ahead, butcher the form if necessary. Let's not get so nitpicky as beginners on the actual precise movement of things. Just play with your energy, let it flow, experiment with it, and enjoy it. Now, there's several different kinds of breathing in Qigong as well. There's, and the kind that I use mostly is inhaling through your nose, which has natural hair, natural filter in our nose, the hairs, and exhaling through our mouths. And the reason why we do this is because, well, first of all, the inhale, yes, it filters the air through our nose, but the exhale, if you open your mouth when you exhale, it triggers your parasympathetic nervous system automatically. It automatically signals to your body to cut off that fight or flight mode, which is stress. And I'll tell you what, most people on this planet today are sympathetic nervous system dominant. That means they're stuck in fight or flight. And that might have been great hundreds of thousands of years ago or tens of thousands of years ago when we were running from lions and tigers and bears, oh my. But today, really, most of us lead the sedentary lifestyles. We get all caught up in our crazy monkey minds, worrying about things in the future, what if, or lamenting on things in the past, oh, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And Qigong brings us back to the present with just one simple movement at a time, focusing on the internal. In other words, we breathe, we focus on our breath, we do the movement, and then we connect. How do we feel? How are we feeling when we do this? And you feel your energy flowing. Where does it flow? How does it feel? So inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. And then also in Qigong, there's different kinds of exhalations, believe it or not. There's sigh. And sighing is actually, you know, we sigh, we yawn. It's a way of our body releasing tensions and blockages in our chi, in our energy. So go with the flow. If you feel like having a big sigh, or even if you feel like yawning, go ahead and yawn. Then there's other practices where there's other sounds like shh, shushing a baby. Shh. Then there's yeah. Hi. There's yeah. There's all these different vocalizations, and yeah, you probably feel funny standing out in a field or in a public park making these noises, but you don't have to. That's the beauty of Qigong. We can do it inside our houses. Although, if you do have the opportunity to practice Qigong outside, I highly recommend it. Just for the mere fact of being near trees. Listen, when we exhale, the trees and plants love us because they're feeding on our CO2. And in exchange, we get fresh oxygen. So it's a very good balancing act, the yin and yang in nature. It's just amazing. Now, another thing I wanted to touch on, especially in peripheral artery disease, and it's something I've been thinking about for quite some time now, is why can't we heal ourselves? What's the problem? Why can't I heal this? Like the open wound on my toe, which by the way is getting better since I've been using Manuka honey on it. But the most simple answer to that is that you have a blockage in your energy. There's a blockage somewhere in our chi when we can't heal. And think about it this way, like when you're a teenager and you're running and you stumble over something and you sprain your ankle, it might hurt for a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks, but you get over it pretty easily. Now, as we get older, that same injury might take months to heal. It might hurt for years after. It might be very sensitive for some time. And that's because the older we get, the more blockages we tend to accumulate in our chi, because most of us aren't thinking about our energy and how it flows and how we can focus our internal intention on clearing those blockages. So today I thought what I would do is start out with a couple of simple exercises that are actually from something called the 8 brocades. And the way I learned this was from my Qigong instructor here in Gainesville. There's kind of like 5 phases to routines. And the first one is opening, which is so important. It gets us grounded. It changes our brain wavelength. It gets us out of the fight or flight. It gets us focused on what we're doing. It brings us to our present moment and how our bodies feel. So that's why even at Tai Chi, we start out with warm-ups, and then I always say, find your happy feet, get grounded, smile from the heart. All of these things are part of getting in the zen of it. Now, in Qigong, basic idea is that, again, you want to stand about hip width apart. A good way to tell that, by the way, is just take one foot, turn it out sideways, and plant that foot then where your toes ended on it. So that should be about hip width apart. But don't feel fixated and stuck on staying in that. It's not a rule of dogma. It's just a general rule of thumb. So, play with it, find your happy feet. And then when we start our opening, let's just all center ourselves for a minute. And if you notice now, my arms are down by my sides. I'm relaxed. I'm not holding my chi ball, but I am letting my spine relax. And let's start from the top of our heads. And let's just feel our scalp relax. Just feel it melt. Your foreheads relax. Feel the tension melting away. And close your eyes while you do this. And you might even feel yourself swaying, which is fine because that's your chi moving. Just breathe normally. Feel your cheeks relax. Now your jaw is the most important. I'll bring you back to relaxing your jaw often because that's what releases our parasympathetic nervous system, or our rest and digest mode, which is opposite of fight or flight, which most of us are stuck in. So relax that jaw. Let it move down your throat, your neck. Now feel your shoulders just relax. Take a nice couple of big deep breaths. Feel your chest opening, moving down your spine. So your spine will feel kind of stretched out, elongated, because you're relaxing your tailbone down, but your chest is full and you're having good posture, not stiff. Your hips. Now feel it move down your thighs. And your calves. Your feet. Your toes. You can even wiggle those toes. Don't ever be afraid to wiggle or move about and readjust your position. So now I've shown you the opening sequence in Qigong that I've learned. And now I'm going to teach you a move called supporting the heavens. And this is a beautiful, lovely move. You start kind of with your knees bending down a little bit like you're scooping the earth, but don't bend way over far. Just kind of, you're scooping the earth. Then your palms, back of your hands face each other. And as you reach up to the sky, your palms flip up so they're facing heaven. And up here at the top, you can even give it a nice stretch, but don't ever lock your knees. Come down. And let's just get in the flow of doing this a few times. Inhale. Exhale. Feel your energy inside. Each inhale, reaching up, stretching, filling your body with resource energy. Exhaling as you come down, scooping up some Mother Earth. Keeping that jaw nice and relaxed, smiling from the heart. If you can't breathe as slowly as I am, then adjust your movement to your own breath. Play with this. Find that sweet spot between the external motion and the internal breath. And one more. And now, just sit in this flowing stillness. Feel free to readjust your feet, to undo any hitches or anything you feel in your body. And just feel your energy flowing. Check in, where does it hurt? Where does it feel better? Now I'm going to lead you into a second of the brocades. They're not necessarily in order. But after you've recentered yourself a little bit in the stillness, you can step out a little bit more than hip width apart. As comfortable as possible. Really, they say to try and get into horse stance. But if that's uncomfortable for you, then move it in. That's all. Just move it in some. So this time, this is called shooting the arrow. Arms crossed. Don't let all your breath out on that part. You want enough left over to finish off the move with a nice sigh. And you can do this either direction. And pretend you're on a horseback, shooting an arrow with your bow. Now let's come back in. Let's bring it back to flowing stillness. Check in with your body again. Where do you feel the energy flowing? You feel good? Do you feel exhilarated? Do you feel shaky? Let's check it out. Accept it all as an objective observer. If your mind floats off, just come back to your breath. Smile from the heart. Now I'm going to show you the consolidating part of this. Come back in. We focus our energy down in our lower dantian, down here. You can put one palm on top of the other, just below your belly. And bring all that energy down here to your energy engine. Center of our breath, our balance. And then as a beginning closing movement, you open up our eyes, or no, don't open them yet, but warm. Rub your hands together. Feel the warmth in them. Pat them over your eyes. Just hold them there a minute. Feel the warmth. And then slowly pat them and blink your eyes open. This is bringing you back from the internal world to our external. Comb your hair with all 10 fingers a few times. And then cup your ears so the sound changes. And then I want you to pat on the back of your head down here 24 times. And you can either do it like this or drum your fingers. So if you don't hit 24 exactly, don't sweat it. By cupping your ears, the drumming should sound more internal in your head. And I've lost count, but it doesn't matter. Because as I said, we can butcher the form. As we practice this more, we get more proficient in our movements. But to begin with, the main thing to focus on is your breath and how your body feels. How is the energy flowing in your body? Now, let me explain something else to you about why can't I heal? Back to the story of the child with a broken ankle, it heals in a week, and the adult who has pain for a year. Debris has accumulated over the years in our energy fields. And one way to look at dis-ease is pretend that you're the captain on this Starship Enterprise. You're being attacked by Klingons. And what does the captain yell? Shields up, shields up. That's like your sympathetic nervous system kicking in saying, run from the tiger, run from the tiger. And what happens to our bodies when we kick into this sympathetic nervous system mode is that other energy is diverted away from less crucial functions. In the instance of running away from a tiger, Our energy would be diverted to our muscles and to our heart. Our cardiovascular system, our autoimmune system might be put on the back burner. Things like that. So Qigong makes us kind of check our energy fields and check in to see if we are dominant fight or flight mode. And the more often we learn to check in, the more often we can pull ourselves out of that fight or flight and back into rest and digest mode, our parasympathetic nervous system. And the body has an amazing way of healing itself and balancing these opposites. And somewhere in there, and it's a custom made answer for each of us because we're all different. We all have different energies. Therein lies the balance, the center. And that's what Qigong really tries to help us focus on. You know, so much these days we've had scientific studies and things that show how mindfulness can really help us with our intention and with our healing, just by focusing our thoughts. And yes, it takes practice because we scramble around, like most of us have incredibly short memory, like 30 seconds, and our attention is already seized by something else. So by practicing Qigong, it helps us get in the flow of our energy, of our Qi. And the more we practice, the more we can work with it, shape it, transform it, and direct it to the parts of our bodies that need healing. Now, I'm not saying this is something that happens overnight or like, you know, it happens, I think, to the degree of our practice. And I know there's masters who are about 100 years old that are still moving around, talking, doing things because they've kept their energy fields open. And to me, that's the beauty of Qigong. And there's so many different kinds. That's the other thing. I was saying earlier before we started our session here that, you know, I could do this Moving Monday every week for the rest of my life and barely scratch the surface of what's available in different Qigong methods and Tai Chi methods. So don't be afraid to experiment. Play with your breath. Be playful like a child with this stuff. And I tell you, it's kept me going through 10 years of dementia caregiving. It saved me from back surgery. And I'll tell you an interesting story about my time in dementia caregiving. Towards the end of it, I was having chest pain. And when I was 52, I already survived a widowmaker heart attack, and I had a stent in my LAD. And so I noticed during the very stressful, probably last half of a year of the end stage of Alzheimer's, is that I could feel my heartbeat when I would get stressed. And I learned through that, even though I'd done Qigong in the past, I did it mainly to heal my back. I was more externally motivated by it more than the internal. And the thing that I found was that by controlling my breath, I could control my heartbeat. I could slow it down, or I could speed it up. Generally, in those days, I needed to slow it down. After caregiving, however, I feel that I need to speed it up a little bit, but not to the point that it stresses my heart. I need a little more energetic practice. And so that's why I'm really happy for these next few weeks. We're going to be going into some of these different Qigong moves, different sounds, different moves that have a little bit more maybe energy feel to them. And I think this is going to be a great journey for all of us. So with that said, I salute all of you. my Qigong aficionados. Thank you.